Hey gang, today I wanted to make a video to help those of you guys who are new to Dungeons of Sundaria. So this video is going to be sort of like a little helpful guide on what you should look for in terms of gear, abilities, maybe potions as well. So first off, one thing I'd like to talk about is things to look for in your gear. So we're going to hop on my low-level rogue. So when you're looking at gear for yourself, mainly you're going to want to look at those four stats at the top. So for the champion and the rogue, you're going to want to look for anything with melee power. For the cleric and the wizard, you're going to want spell power. And for the ranger, you want ranged power. There's no real reason that wizard or cleric would need range or melee power. And there's no reason, for the other classes to have something that's not for them. One thing I want to point you towards is the compendium. This book will break down a lot of stuff, as well as tell you what weapons your class should use and what armor types you need to look for. Now, the armor type does not necessarily mean that you have to wear that armor, but this armor will give you percentage-based increases to your skills. And honestly, for the first 15 level or for the first 14 levels of your character, you don't need to worry about that stuff. In the beginning, you're just going to want to look at the top four stats. So HP, whatever power you need, armor, and magic resistance. And then when you get to be like level 15 and all your gear is maxed out, that's when you want to start looking for the nitty gritty like skills that you want. Another thing I'd like to point out is there's been like a misinterpretation in part of the community about penetration. So armor and spell penetration isn't like a passive thing that happens. It's more of like, I would consider it a secondary crit. So you have your critical hits, which do increased damage, and then you have your penetration attacks, which will bypass the resistance or the armor of the target. And so essentially you can have a hit penetrate and crit at the same time, which is like a double crit. So like on the cleric, my exorcism spell would normally do about 20,000 damage, but if it crits, it does like 50,000, and then if it crits and penetrates, it does like 80,000. So penetration is really important, as well as crit chance. So that's something to look for when you're getting into max level. But for the levels 1 through 14, you mainly just want to look at the top four abilities. So again, so anyway, when you're looking at the stats on your gear, if it's for weapons, you're going to want damage, whatever power you're associated with, and then armor, magic resistance, and some weapons even give plus to health as well. But yeah, for armor, for the first 14 levels, just look at the top four skills. You don't need to worry about so much the other stuff, because in the beginning, especially, you're only seeing like 1% increases, and that's not too crucial. But then when you see like late game armor, like I'll show you something on my cleric where it's like plus 20% or something like that. That's when you want to worry about those sort of skills. Now, the devs did mention that they're going to be updating the crafting system, so I'll probably do a video on crafting and upgrading gear when they release the new patch, whenever that is. Dreadforge is coming up soon, so they will probably do it with that update. But like with this, you'll see I have 32%, like a 32% stat increase to different abilities. So high level armor, fantastic. Really cherry pick those skills. But getting up to max level armor, don't worry about it so much. Let's see. Let me take a look at my notes really quick. What else did I want to reference? Skill hotkeys, yeah. So one important thing I would say is change some of the hotkeys for your skills. I like to keep like my healing and my defensive abilities on Q, E, and R. So while I'm moving, if I need to, I can heal or shield up, for instance, if I'm on my cleric. And then if it's like the combat moves I normally use like a lot, I'll keep that on my mouse. And then just like my other skills are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I would look into changing your skill hotkeys to make it much more accessible for skills that you need right away, instead of having to like look at your numbers if you're not 100% confident on just like hitting your number keys. And then one thing I would also look for is potions. So they are a little pricey, but if you go to the Alchemist Morphic, you'll see he has a whole bunch of different potions, and these Rejuve potions are incredible. They are a little pricey at 15 gold a pop, but they immediately give you 35% of your max HP and then heal another 35% over 8 seconds. So most or all classes either have an instant heal or a slow heal over time, and the Rejuve potion does both. So I really like having the max Rejuve potions when I'm running nightmare dungeons, especially solo, because it sort of gives me another heal to fall back on. So definitely invest in rejuvenation potions, and then the elixirs are also really important, especially if you're running solo. So these are also expensive, but it's a nice long buff of 15 minutes, and it'll give you a 35% increase to your melee power, your range power, or your spell power, and it's incredible. Like you'll see a massive increase in your damage. Like it may not seem like 35% because of enemy resistances and the way the combat multiplier works with factoring in your attack, if it penetrates, if it crits, and then glancing blow and the other stat. Which one was it? Glancing blow and deflection, because those also, the enemies also have those stats. So it might not seem like it sometimes, but trust me, the 35% increase is very much there and is very much important. And then as far as if you're having difficulties surviving outside of that, I would say pull less mobs. Because in this game, it's really easy to become overwhelmed, especially if you pull a couple mobs that all have a crowd control move like a stun or a sleep or something. So if you're finding that you die too quickly, try fighting them one at a time or two at a time, whatever feels more comfortable, until you can start pulling bigger rooms. But I would say that levels 10 to 14 are the hardest to get through because of how difficult it is to find loot. So my recommendation there is to play it safe, until you can get yourself the gear that you need, and buy the recipes from the blacksmith. It's very important to be able to craft your own armor, and you will always craft at whatever your level is. So if you hit level 14 and you need like a helmet, buy the helmet skin or the helmet recipe and craft yourself a helmet. Whatever the highest rarity is that you can make, just go ahead and make that, and hopefully it'll be better than what you have. I'm not going to get too much into crafting right now because, like I said, the devs said they are going to update the crafting with the next update. So we're going to wait for that. But yeah, if I can think of any other tips and tricks to put into a video, I'll definitely do a follow-up. But just to cover what we spoke about, do not be afraid to reference the compendium. It breaks down all of the skills and the gear that your character is going to need. So if you're hesitant or questioning what sort of weapons or armor you should be wearing, it's all right there. Abilities, you need to focus. Definitely going to want to look at when you're... Actually, I'll do another video where I break down what stats each class should depend on. But in terms of gear, you're just going to want to look at the top 4 abilities for the most part, because those are the most important. HP, armor, spell resistance, and whatever your type of power is. So focus those, and then when you hit level 15, that's when you can really start worrying about, the secondary abilities on your armor. And break as many barrels and boxes as you can to try and get as many fragments as you can to buy those recipes, so that when you need to craft gear, you can. And then if you have any questions on where to get like your elite class fragments, I have videos on those as well. I'll put them in the description. But yeah, guys, if you have any other questions or comments or need me to do any other videos for you, I do have some videos I've planned. I've been so busy with the holiday season, so I haven't really been able to work on them. But yeah, if you have any questions or concerns or just need help with something, you can leave it in the comments below, or hit me up on Twitch, or hop in my Discord. I'll have all that stuff in the video description. But yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out. I'll talk to you next time. Kiss, kiss.